Hi again, everyone, and welcome inside another edition of the Adam Jones podcast. I'm Jerry Coleman. He's a former five-time MLB All-Star and world traveler, Adam Jones. Today in episode number 51, AJ.
That Jamie Moyer special.
That's right. We will be joined not by Jamie Moyer, couldn't locate him, but by former Oriole and Orioles Hall of Famer JJ Hardy. Looking forward to catching up with JJ. Adam and I are also going to talk with the Baltimore Banner's columnist, Kyle Goon, about the Orioles' disappointing end of their season and the Ravens getting a victory, which Adam witnessed firsthand across the pond, as they say, in dreary old London last Monday. Oof. I call it dreary because it's never sunny.
It was sunny the last 2 days I was there. Well, it was remarkable. It was
okay,
great.
Well, it was
a
nice sight.
I brought the weather to London.
Of course you did. There's sunshine wherever you go. And speaking of sunshine, we'll get to Socially Speaking, where you can qualify for an Iron Rooster gift card by corresponding with this podcast. Either rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts or reach us at Adam Jones Pod on X, Facebook if you're old enough, and, of course, Instagram for the kids. We're not on TikTok. And by the way, ever find my Ryder Cup hat? Because you're wearing a new hat today. You failed to come by my place last week and pick up Kenny Albert's new book. So that's kind of two strikes against you. You're down in the count.
I'm comfortable with being down in the count. You know, this is when I choke up and, I put my big boy pants on. But no, I do have the Ryder Cup hats. My luggage did come while I was in Baltimore. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to bring you the hat. But I have the hat. Next time I return to Baltimore, you will get it. And I do need to pick up Kenny's book because I heard it was a really good read. I looked at the reviews, and a lot of people really enjoyed it.
Yeah, he's got a great inscription for you that I was just going to pull out that page and re-gift to someone else. But he said, don't you dare do that. So I won't be doing that.
Thank you.
All right, we begin with our featured guest brought to us by our friends at Jimmy's Famous Seafood, home of the tail goat before every purple football game. He is the Orioles Hall of Famer. You may recognize him if you're watching on YouTube. If not, you'll know the voice. He is JJ Hardy. And JJ, thanks for being on the podcast. We've been trying to track you down in the woods somewhere, and we finally did, although you got out of the woods. Now, I did see you throw out that first pitch at Game 2 of the ALDS. I will say it was a much superior pitch to Adam's pitch the day before. Unfortunately, the outcome was the same, though, as far as the Orioles go. What a disappointing end to a great season, JJ.
It really was, yeah. I mean, it was really cool getting back out there and seeing the fans as excited as they were. After, I forget, Garber hit that grand slam, Jonesy got my attention in the stands and goes, hey, we're never going to be throwing out first pitches again.
Jinx times 2.
Ban us. Hey, we should never do that again.
Dang. Yeah, 100-win season, though. I mean, it's something to be proud of, and I think they're going to have many more opportunities.
For sure. What you been up to? I mean, you, Marquez, there's a few of you guys that just disappear and love it. Don't want to be tracked down, all of that. So what you been up to?
That's it. I mean, I head up to Montana as much as I can. Where I'm up there, I mean, it's like I have no internet, at least even slower than my internet here in Arizona. But just get away, fish, hunt. I've been playing a ton of pickleball.
That's it.
Oh, I knew you were going to. We're going to get into that.
Two kids, you know how it is. I mean, an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old keeps me busier than when I was playing.
Very true. Very, very, very true. So, I mean, are the kids into the outdoors? Are they into the hunting, the fishing, the shooting?
Not hunting, shooting a little bit, not hunting and fishing. They're both getting into fishing a little bit, so I'm enjoying seeing that.
I know you do. Oh, you taught me how to get the bass thumb out in Sarasota.
That's right. Remember you kicked that one. Was that a bass or a catfish that you kicked?
It was a bass, and that damn fin went in my foot. It hurt like hell. He was like, "Yeah, you don't kick the fish.
Don't kick the fish. They got fins that got needles."
I don't like to bring up bad news. It's not what I do, but Orioles have now dropped 8 straight postseason games going back to when you guys were playing. I mean, the future is very bright, though, JJ, as we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. I got a lot of guys, young stars under contract, and I don't know what they're going to do at shortstop. That's a good problem to have going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of excited to see this Jackson Holiday. I mean, Gunnar was pretty impressive over there. And then now you got this Jackson Holiday coming up. I feel like that's going to be pretty exciting.
Like these guys are coming. They're coming. They're hitting down the door. Who? I mean, I don't know how much baseball you do watch. You probably got selected cable, but watching the Orioles. I mean, have you seen anybody that resembles you? That resembles your craft, your preparation, your steadiness. I mean, you weren't flashy. You just got the damn job done.
I don't know. For the last, I'd say 4 years, right when I was done after 2017, I don't think I watched 5 baseball games in the next 5 years. This year, I started paying attention a little bit more. I think a little bit last year also, but I don't know enough. I haven't seen enough games. When I went out to spring training in 2020, right before COVID hit and they canceled everything, I was over on the minor league side and watching Gunnar play a little bit. And these guys, all the coaches were saying this guy is going to be a stud. And they were right. I mean, he had an incredible rookie season. He's a big guy. I mean, when I met him again in the locker room, when I came out to throw out the first pitch, he's a big guy. And I don't know. I haven't seen enough games to see if anybody resembles the way I played.
We've got more ahead with former Oriole and Orioles Hall of Famer J.J. Hardy here on the Adam Jones podcast. But first, let's all salute our dedicated, loyal sponsors. Go out and support them, folks.
Hi, guys. Orioles Hall of Famer and ambassador to the Baseball Warehouse, Mike Bordick here. We are honored and excited to help support the Adam Jones podcast. The Baseball Warehouse has 4 locations in Maryland and 2 in Pennsylvania. We specialize in private instruction, camps, showcases, charity events, Badgers baseball, and one-of-a-kind events featuring current Major League players and Hall of Famers. Our instructors have all played collegiately and professionally, many of whom have reached the major leagues. Check out thebaseballwarehouse.com to learn more and check us out on social media. Also, make sure to check out Orioles Hall of Famer Rick Dempsey's Baseball Warehouse opening in Columbia this October. Yeah, it's October 8th from 1 to 5 p.m. I'll be there with many of my former teammates, and I want to see you there.
The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan? Experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones podcast. And by our friends at the Weinman Company.
Your fun awaits at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Feed the whole crew with something for everyone, from cheesesteaks to crab cake sandwiches. Plus, ask how you can get a $15 dining credit. Get in on the gaming action with the hottest slots and your favorite table games like blackjack, roulette, and poker. Free live shows every Friday and Saturday. Plus, become a Penn Play member and get up to $250 in rewards. Come experience non-stop fun and excitement only at Hollywood Casino Perryville.
Let's get back to it. Our continuing conversation with Oriole Hall of Famer J.J. Hardy.
I remember in 2020 you did. There was a big article about you down there in spring training, giving your expertise. Would you ever want to? I know not full-time coaching. That's a tough ask. That's a demanding. But would you ever want to be in the game in some capacity? You know, wearing some khakis and a polo and just giving instructions.
I don't own any khakis. But no, I think getting in the game, yes, a little bit, but at my level, I feel like, you know, every adult, every dad that's had kids grow up and move out of the house has given me the same advice. Enjoy it. It goes fast. Like, hang out with them as much as you can. And I'm taking their advice. I'm trying to hang out with my kids as much as I can. And, you know, like you said, if you were to take a job, it's demanding. So it would have to be at my schedule when those kids are in school. You know, maybe I could work something out. But to be gone all the time, I don't think I'm ready for that.
JJ, what are some of the differences you have noticed since you've stepped away from the game, whether it be with your former team, the Orioles, or just baseball in general?
Well, as little as I've watched since I've been done, I mean, I've seen sabermetrics take over a lot. I feel like the game and moving runners has changed a little bit as well. I feel like it has become a strike them out, hit home runs, a different kind of game in that way, which I'm not against. I feel like had I had that mentality, I might have been better. I might have hit a few more home runs, but I probably would have struck out a whole lot more too. But in this day, it doesn't matter. I don't think strikeouts are as big a deal as long as you're driving in some runs.
We were there watching the Orioles, and obviously, you guys said disappointing, especially Jerry's negative, a disappointing ending. I mean, it was.
Well, that's my media background. Yeah,
it ran into a buzzsaw of Texas, a very, very veteran team. But there's always been obviously, well, we're there too, is will the Orioles spend? Will they go and get somebody? This last year they went and got Kyle Gibson at $10 million. The year before they had Lyles at $12 million. But nothing a splash, not a 4-year, 5-year deal. They might have didn't like Ubaldo and Cobb's deals. Maybe they're probably scared the hell out of them. But do you like at some point you got to spend some money? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean I feel like the Orioles, like you mentioned Ubaldo, I feel like they've gotten hurt doing those big spendings, and maybe them not working out the way they hoped. But I agree. I feel like now's the time. They've got all these young prospects that are studs and having success. I feel like they got to fill in the pieces and start bringing in some free agents that can make a difference also, and bring in a little bit more leadership. That was one thing that, looking at this postseason, I mean, there wasn't a ton of experience in postseason, and I feel like now that these younger prospects, I guess they're not prospects anymore, but players have shown what they can do. I think it's probably a good time to go out and get some veterans that have been there and done that and can help these younger guys for the next 5-6 years.
When you were with the Orioles, there was a ping pong table in the clubhouse. The word was you were regarded as the best player on the team. You would kick everybody's butt on a routine basis. Have you thought about going professional, whether it be ping pong or pickleball, taking that route? Because there is professional table tennis. I unfortunately have lost some money gambling on that.
Really? No, I've never.
It's a sickness, Adam, yes.
I feel like pickleball, there was a time where I was playing quite a bit and I didn't know the next level. Like I was playing and I was beating people and going, what's the next level? Show me the next level. And then we were able to get a couple professionals to come over to my house and play, and I couldn't get a point on them. And that kind of woke me up in a way that maybe I don't want to go professional and I just want to have fun playing pickleball with my buddies.
Have you talked to Brad Penny? He has that league with Tino Martinez. They asked me to do it, but they're based in Tampa, but they travel.
Dude, funny you say that. I'm going out and playing with him for the first time today after this. But I thought of you too, because when you came over that one time and we hit some tennis balls, I was shocked at how good you were for never ever picking up a tennis racket.
Really?
If you can do that with a tennis racket, pickleball would be so easy for you. But I guess you being over in Barcelona, I feel like padel is the sport you need to be playing.
We play it all the time, but every time we go on vacation to resorts, I always take a tennis lesson though. Always.
Do you?
It's
Dude,
a fantastic exercise. I can't go point to point with you. I just can't do that. You're going to just mop the floor. But I'll take the lessons, I'll hit the balls, then I'll go play padel, and then I can compete.
Is it paddle or padel?
Padel.
Okay.
Padel.
All right.
Yeah.
How's your badminton game, JJ?
It's the one racket sport I haven't picked up. I don't know how I would be at badminton. Never tried it.
I know we couldn't eliminate that. All right, we're down to the Final Four when it comes to the postseason. You got Texas battling each other with Houston and the Rangers over in the National League. The Diamondbacks right there in your neighborhood taking on the Phillies again. Who are you looking at as advancing?
I'm hoping for the Rangers. Don't really have any connections over there. I mean, I just feel like I don't have any connections in Houston either, and I didn't like the way Houston won back in a few years ago. So I'm rooting for Texas, and then Philly's tough because I am a Diamondbacks fan being out here, but Bobby Dickerson's with Philly, and I'd like to see Bobby Dickerson go and get a ring. So it's hard for me on that one. I think it's going to be a good series, but I feel like Philadelphia is going to pull it off.
Yeah, they're loaded, and Philly that's a home field advantage. I was there last year with the Padres, and when they Padres Phillies, you don't get a word. You can't hear nothing, man. You don't get nothing. But It's always
Yeah.
good to talk to you, man. Get
And
you out there.
Arizona, I don't feel like they fill out the stadium unless it's game 6 or 7 of the World Series, even in the
Or against the
postseason.
Dodgers.
Right? Yeah,
Or
true.
if the Dodgers are in town, right?
Yeah, because then everybody comes over from LA. Yep.
Real quickly, how did James Jerry Hardy simply become JJ?
It was JJ from day one. I have
What's
a
the matter
grandpa.
with that being named Jerry? I mean, I think that's a fine first name.
It's a cool name. It's all right. I have a grandpa and an uncle named Jerry, so I think that's why Jerry. And then James was just another name that started with J, and they wanted me to be JJ from the beginning.
All right, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
JJ, appreciate the time. Go out and kill him on the court. Don't kill him as much in the wilderness, although that's part of the deal. And enjoy the retirement life like Adam is. Although I don't know if you've had your passport stamped as many times as he has.
No, definitely not. I know you're traveling a lot. Seeing the world.
Always somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah, good talk to you, man. Get you out your comfort zone. Go play some.
Yeah, this was tough. I'm sweating. You can't see it, but I am sweating.
All right, go grab some deodorant. We'll catch you again soon on the podcast.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right, JJ Hardy. I mean, longtime teammate of yours, AJ. Do you remember your first impression of Hardy when you first encountered him?
When I first encountered him, I knew that when we got him, Showalter was like, we have a shortstop every day. And I'm like, okay, finally. Because the last few years we've been going through the ringer of 6 different guys. Now we got a center fielder, we got a catcher, we got a shortstop. Up the middle is just sealed. Then we got this third baseman coming shortly, and we got a right fielder. We were like, just up the middle, we were sealed. And he solidified a shortstop for 7 years in Baltimore. And first class professional, showed up to work every day. He was my locker mate next to me. I seen him go through everything possible with his injuries and still played. So we posted, man. We posted, me, him, CD, our whole team. We all battling something. We posted.
No days off.
The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. By G-Leaf Medical Cannabis Only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up.
Man, sure smells like Royal Farms fried chicken.
Best fast food fried chicken in America. You ever try it? Hey, you hungry? Royal Farms world famous chicken. If you haven't tried it, you don't know what you're missing.
By Jack Daniels, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. And a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure to check out the Baltimore Banner at thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get started.
Adam, time now to shift our attention to our For the Birds portion. It's brought to you by our friends at the Baseball Warehouse. We bring in the outstanding columnist. He's back, the Goon Squad, we call him. His name is Kyle Goon, outstanding columnist for the Baltimore Banner. And Kyle, first of all, saw you at the Mike Elias, Brandon Hyde season-ending press conference. My interpretation of what I heard was that the Orioles are mostly going to be standing pat during the offseason and feel like some of the guys that didn't reach their full potential or even the major leagues, I'm talking about guys like Kerstad and Jackson Holiday, DL Hall in a full-scale role, a healthier Tyler Wells or John Means. Those are the guys that are going to come in and be like the free agent acquisitions instead of spending money That was my interpretation. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they, as they often have, they left it open for interpretation. And I mean, I guess on one hand, I buy that the Orioles are going to get this infusion, especially when you look at their young arms who struggled this year. A lot of guys went over their inning counts. They could be a lot better next year. I mean, DL Hall and Tyler Wells could be, really good starting pitchers next year. Tyler Wells was a good starting pitcher for half a season this year. I do buy that. I guess my questions really come in when you talk about, okay, if Kyle Gibson doesn't come back next year, who's kind of taking that spot? Who's taking the sort of veteran? I've been there before. I've competed before. I'm in my 30s. I have a little savvy. And I really think the Orioles need to spend money at that spot. And we got to be talking about perhaps a little more than $10 million a year in that slot. I think they might add, 2 or 3 free agents at most that are going to be, sort of make a dent in that money. But that's kind of what I came away thinking about, is like, are they real about bringing in a guy who's going to make, 12, 15, maybe even 20 million a year?
That was my question is, with Gibby going, I mean, we don't know. He's a free agent. What do you do? How do you replace that? Where do you add? Like, and you got McCann coming back, so you still have that veteran there. But where do you add another veteran piece for the offense also? Not just on the pitching staff. You're not going to have your closer all next year. So how do you address that role also?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of stole it out from under me. You're not going to have your closer. And, for as good as Yennier Cano was this year, he was fading a little bit down the stretch. I think it's safe to say. I mean, a lot of guys put a lot on their arms, is all I'm saying. And I would look at those kind of 3 that you outlined there, with bullpen closer or setup guy, whatever you think the future of Cano and Cionel Perez is. One rotation guy in the starting rotation. And then, somewhere maybe a utility bat. And, we'll see what happens with Ramon Urias and Jorge Mateo next year, because Jackson Holliday's coming, right? I mean, I think we all are sort of thinking that. So I think, but
we were just talking about it.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see when that will be. I would be a little bit surprised if he makes a team out of camp, but it's a possibility, right? So, maybe at that one of those utility infielder bats like Adam Frazier was this year. But I really think, the Orioles got to think at least maybe like one tier higher than where they've been aiming, which is, you look at Nathan Eovaldi, a guy they struggled against in the playoffs, makes about $20 million a year. And that's a bit of a reach for this franchise most of the time, but I'd be interested to see, what that goes for next year, if they can find somebody more in that salary slot.
Like a Nola. Snell is going to be expensive. Nola is a little older, coming off of a 4-year 40, so he might be around that range. That's like that Zach Eflin, if you could have, how Tampa picked him up for 16, 15, 16, 18, something in that range. There's guys out there, but is the willingness to that?
Yeah. And that's always a question. I mean, I was a little surprised, and I wrote a column about this. I was a little surprised that Michael Elias didn't even say, like, yes, we're going to have higher payroll next year. And I mean, if you look at all the guys in arbitration, it's pretty straightforward that, yeah, they're going to pay guys more than they will. And Mike did say, we're going to give guys raises through arbitration. But, I thought it was kind of telling that he wouldn't even acknowledge, like, oh, yeah, the payroll is going to go up just through arbitration. He just said, oh, well, we're in day one. Who can even say what our payroll is going to look like?
Well, and that's my thing. You're in day one, with all due respect to the Orioles GM, who we hope to have on the podcast. Why hold a press conference if you're not answering these questions the day after the season ended?
But it's day one. You have to do that. You got to, man, everybody's coming off of that hangover. They're like, hey, I don't need to answer all these questions now, but I have to hold court. We will resume shortly. I don't know if it's weekly or bi-weekly, conferences with the general manager and the manager. They have media obligations. The first day, man, I don't want to be there.
It's part of the job responsibility. And I'm going to preface this question to Kyle, because what I'm going to say is Adam never has been a fan about people knowing what you're making, what you're earning, what your contract length is. You and I have gone back and forth, AJ, about this. Like, that should be private information. I disagree. And I found it still befuddling, Kyle, that we don't know how long Mike Elias or Brandon Hyde's contracts are. Why is this such a closely guarded secret? And don't the fans deserve to know?
I want to know too.
Well, yeah, dude, I definitely think the fans deserve to know, especially when all the conversations about Baltimore and its future have everything to do about money and willingness to pay. And Mike Elias, guess what? He's kind of established himself in the last year as maybe one of the 5 best guys doing this, right? I mean, he's got #1 farm system. He's got a 100-win team. That's kind of the definition of what a great GM is. And I liked, I honestly forget who asked, but I think it was Dan Connolly, but I like the question about,
oh yeah, him.
I like the question about, it's like, hey, there's a lot of prominent openings, and the Red Sox are looking for a GM. Looks like the Marlins are going to be looking for a GM, and just some other organizations are looking for a GM, and why wouldn't they try to pick the Orioles' bright shiny GM up in certain instances? So I'm interested in that. He did say that he and Brandon Hyde will be next year.
Well, it's like duh, right? Yeah. I mean, we knew that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be a question around the franchise until there's some, huge press conference with John Angelos where he's like, hey, we have a 10-year deal for Mike Elias. We have a 10-year deal for Brandon, or whatever that will look like. I mean, I'm sure if the Orioles do sign Mike Elias to a long-term contract, they'll trumpet it from the heavens and say, hey, get away from our guy.
See, I don't have a problem with that. I don't need to know the money they're making, but I definitely would like to know as a fan also, like, how long is he here? I mean, because no one knew about Kim Ng's contract, and then just like, oh, she didn't take her part of it, and they just mutually just like, dang, that was quick, because she turned that team around. So, yeah, that was weird. We're going to switch this to football, though, and Ravens in London. That was a big win, honestly. It was great to be there. Incredible turnout by Baltimore, number one. I want to give praise to just the fans of the Ravens that came out, the Ravens flock. It was amazing. You enjoy that game? You like what's going on with this offense to me, man?
He wasn't with you across the pond like me. We had to watch it on television. That's like civilians.
Yeah, the world travel over here. But I think just after that game in Pittsburgh where everything went wrong, I mean, I think I called it a professional win. And you just do what you do. I mean, you saw John Harbaugh. It's like, oh, 4th and short. We're going to take the points. We're going to take the points because we can bank the points. We can bank on Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker tying a career high with 6 field goals. I just saw a reluctance to take certain risks this week. And honestly, if you win, I think that's fine. I think it's a direct response to that Steelers game where they took a lot of risks and it really didn't work out. And then you have the Titans taking a risk and trying to field a punt right before halftime, and it screws them for 3 points. So I think this was just sort of a getting back to business win. That's how I viewed it. I don't think it was particularly beautiful, and I think all the stops in the red zone for field goals are going to get people talking. But the Ravens have been a better red zone team this year than previous years, and I think Todd Monken has demonstrated that. I just think it was a team that took a lot of risks last week, was feeling very risk averse this week.
I think you're right. I think John Harbaugh got the message, decided to send out his kicker every time it was the right time, and on 6 occasions it was. But the red zone failures are something to worry about because it's been a couple of weeks now running, and they're just not finishing as strong as we would hope they would when they should be dominating these last 2 games. And, they've gone 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, the Pittsburgh game, yes. I thought that might have been one of the, honestly, most poorly coached games of John Harbaugh's tenure. But this one, I mean, there's so many weird factors when you think about going over to England, practicing at Tottenham. They were practicing on a field that was 50 meters long. I saw it wasn't even a full-size American football field.
It did make a difference arriving early this time. I will point that out.
So, I mean, there's just so many factors that are sort of out there that you can't control. And I think in terms of just getting back to winning in a strange environment in England, I give the Ravens a little more credit than perhaps more people are.
It was smart. First, it was smart for them to go on Monday. The Titans went on Friday. Again, that's not smart. That's not smart. Trade deadline is coming up in Halloween. Everybody's interested in somebody. What are the Ravens? Do you think they're going to be buyers, sellers? What do you think? Who do you think they're going to go after?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I think I look at it as need, and the NFL trade market is not as active as the MLB or the NBA. So I would err on the side of thinking the Ravens probably aren't going to make a move at all. But I just look at needs, and I think edge rusher is one where with Odafe Owe out, with David Ojabo out, if you can find a veteran edge rusher, and guys are on the Vikings and the Raiders are kind of tanking right now. It seems like, and there are some other teams that might have some edge rushers that are tanking right now. But to me, that is the position of greatest need. I saw Bart Scott put a call out for, the Ravens should trade for Saquon Barkley. I don't know. I mean, I think their rushing attack is pretty good with Lamar, with Justice Hill, with Gus Edwards. I think edge rusher is a bigger need.
Agreed. And, they got the Lions coming in. They're back home for the first time in a few weeks. And as we've been saying since they beat the Chiefs, these are not your daddy's Lions. This is a much better, improved Detroit team. Your expectations for Sunday?
Yeah, I think it'll be a really tough game. And I think, what we were just talking about, edge rushers, the Lions have a really good offensive line. It's really hard to get pressure on them. And Jared Goff, when he is under pressure and when he feels under threat, you see him make mistakes. But it's really hard to do with the way that Detroit has constructed their team. So I think it is going to be about pressure. And I liked what I saw from Jadeveon Clowney this week and Patrick Queen this week, and getting to the quarterback a little bit more. But it will be a bigger test than the Titans just because of how Detroit has built their team. So I'm really interested from a perspective of, can the Ravens create enough pressure to throw the Lions off balance? I think they can at their best, but they haven't always been their best, as we've seen the last few weeks.
It is Kyle Goon, Baltimore Banner columnist. As always, Kyle, we appreciate your time and look forward to having you on a future episode. Be well.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, Adam, let's get to Socially Speaking, which is how we traditionally end our podcast. This is the portion of the podcast where we answer a social media post and you qualify for an Iron Rooster gift card. You can find us on social media at Adam Jones Pod, Instagram, X, and of course, Facebook. Our latest comes from the Gram, where at Antonio TT65 writes in, "Hi, Adam Jones and Jerry Coleman." Glad he got our full names in there. And
Nice.
Antonio asks, probably you, but I may chime in, Jackson Holiday, when will we be up and what month, Adam?
Ooh, I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I'm gonna give a generic answer based on when players are like this good that you don't want to start their clock too soon. So I'm going with the good old May 25th. I think he starts in the minor leagues in AAA. I think he tears through it. This kid is different, man. And CJ, I do take notes, man. I take notes.
I know
but
you
this
do.
kid's different. And I think May 25th or June 1st, I think that week, because that's before the start of the clock. So I think he's going to tear up AAA, but I think he has to go back there just to, get back into that move. Started with him, but hey, he keeps knocking on the door, man. He might make opening day. And I said, he needs to play every day on the road in spring training. See if you can play. Don't need to play the home games. Go on the road and get all the at-bats that you can get. This kid is special, man. He's
Well,
special.
for argument's sake, I'll play devil's advocate. And, he'll be at spring training. I think he'll be on the roster day one. I think he will start the season at the major league level. I just don't think there's any holding back this kid. He is banging down that door.
Hey, with a bulldozer. And that's what him, Kerstad, these guys, they don't want to be in the minor leagues. It's apparent by their numbers, by just their attitude. And Jackson, his younger brother too. We ain't talked about him yet. So
No.
Hey, whatever. I'm sending my kids out to Oklahoma State. That's Stillwater. I'm sending them out there. And,
Just have Matt Holliday work with him.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sending them out there to work with Matt Holliday and his brother. You can have my kids for a couple of years. They are producing some absolute studs. And I don't know, these are lumberjacks. These kids are they're built different. So I want my kids to go out there and go hang out there in Oklahoma for a couple years.
Yeah, they're taking the fast track to the major leagues. No doubt about that.
And like,
All right,
but to that, what I asked Jackson though, I was like, "What do you want out of this?" He's like, "I want to be better than my dad." And that's a hard ass.
Lofty expectations.
That's a hard ass. He wants to be better than his dad. I love that.
And I think he will be. Sorry, Matt, but that's just an early prediction.
Yeah.
We do want to thank our loyal, dedicated sponsors. We have now reached 50 plus episodes thanks to our following sponsors who keep us around and keep supporting us from day one.
Hi guys, Orioles Hall of Famer and ambassador to the Baseball Warehouse, Mike Bordick here. We are honored and excited to help support the Adam Jones podcast. The Baseball Warehouse has 4 locations in Maryland and 2 in Pennsylvania. We specialize in private instruction, camps, showcases, charity events, Badgers baseball, and one-of-a-kind events featuring current Major League players and Hall of Famers. Our instructors have all played collegiately and professionally, many of whom have reached the major leagues. Check out thebaseballwarehouse.com to learn more and check us out on social media. Also, make sure to check out Orioles Hall of Famer Rick Dempsey's Baseball Warehouse opening in Columbia this October. Yeah, it's October 8th from 1 to 5 p.m. I'll be there with many of my former teammates, and I want to see you there.
The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan, experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones podcast. And by our friends at the Weinman Company.
Your fun awaits at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Feed the whole crew with something for everyone from cheesesteaks to crab cake sandwiches. Plus, ask how you can get a $15 dining credit. Get in on the gaming action with the hottest slots and your favorite table games like blackjack, roulette, and poker. Free live shows every Friday and Saturday. Plus, become a Penn Play member and get up to $250 in rewards. Come experience non-stop fun and excitement only at Hollywood Casino Perryville.
The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. By G-Leaf Medical Cannabis Only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up.
Man, sure smells like Royal Farms fried chicken.
Best fast food fried chicken in America. You ever try it? Hey, you hungry? Royal Farms world famous chicken. If you haven't tried it, you don't know what you're missing.
By Jack Daniels, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. And a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure to check out the Baltimore Banner at thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get started.
Thanks also to senior executive producer Chip Franklin for putting this latest episode together. Chip has multiple email addresses, and he can't keep track of any of them. If you try and correspond with them, good luck. Until next time, be real, be kind, and make sure to be back next week for another edition, number 52. I wonder who that'll be about. There was a guy with the Ravens who wore that number on the Adam Jones podcast.